Welcome to the Urban Angle. Your city, your fish, your experience. With your host, David Kearney. Join us as we explore the opportunities, obstacles, and rewards urban fishing has to offer. And now your host, David Kearney.
Thanks for joining us today on the Urban Angle. I'm your host, David Kearney. We have a great show for you this week, so we're going to get right down to it. Our guest is a highly regarded lecturer, sports writer, and documentary filmmaker, as well as an inventor. He's a competitive sailor, a triathlete, and an extremely competitive angler, having participated in over 100 fishing tournaments throughout North America. He is the host of Feel the Bite TV and of BLUEFISH Radio, as well as a respected advisor, a steward of our environment, and a dedicated father. Did I mention that he's been legally blind since the age of 8? Please welcome to our show, Lawrence Gunther. Thanks for joining us, Lawrence.
Oh, my pleasure.
You were diagnosed legally blind at a very young age. Was fishing a part of your life before being diagnosed blind?
I probably was. I mean, I was pretty young. I was registered blind when I was 8. And I was just missing the central part of my vision, but it was enough that I couldn't see detail. But I had all my peripheral. I could see the shoreline, and I could see, major things in the water, and I could cast and stuff like that, and I could run around. Usual thing, going with my dad fishing and him catching and we're catching stuff and bringing everything home to eat it.
So it was your father that introduced you to fishing. Where did you and your father like to fish?
I guess we fished some dams and rivers for catfish. I remember that. But he bought this old farmstead in central Ontario, not far from Collingwood. And I remember we were walking around there, and he saw this spring trickling out of this hillside. And he said, let's make a pond here. So he got a bulldozer and plowed out a big hole in the ground. And we went back a week later, and it was full of water. So then a couple weeks after that, this truck came by with some 45-gallon barrels on the back, and I think there was 500 rainbow and 1,000 speckles. We dumped those in, and then the next summer they were still around, and the summer after that, within 3 or 4 years, we couldn't stop the rainbow from migrating down the culvert. When those rainbows hit spawning age, they just took off. So we lost the rainbow, but the brook trout stuck around for the next 30 years. They repopulated on their own, and that whole pond, amazingly enough, it just became an entire ecosystem.
Sounds like a great place to fish. So you must have become quite an accomplished brook trout angler.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in Southern Ontario, so, there was streams and creeks everywhere, right? So, yeah, I got myself a beautiful little ultralight spinning rod. I'm talking, I think this was 1974, 75. I became a really good little ultralight spinning rod guy with just a small hook, a little bit of dew worm, 2-pound test fishing line, man, I could slay them.
Yeah, that light tackle setup is really a fun way to fish.
Yeah.
So where are you fishing now, Lawrence? And what's your favorite species in your neighborhood?
I live in Ottawa, and I just did this 24-hour fish-a-thon this past spring, just to showcase how many different fish live in the city. In the city! We caught, in 24 hours, 11 species, which was pretty good. I mean, we started with muskie, we caught gar, pike, all the way down bass and walleye and on and on. When you can catch all these different fish right in your city, it's amazing, right? So,
it is.
Yeah. So basically, I just move through the seasons: carp, walleye, crappie, bass, pike, muskie, salmon, steelhead, and then back to walleye and then into the winter.
Is there ice fishing allowed in the city limits of Ottawa?
Everyone talks about drilling holes in the canal, in the Rideau Canal skateway, but I've never heard of anyone actually doing it.
That's too bad.
The thing is, they let the water level way down in the canal system during the winter.
Mm-hmm. For the ice skating.
For the ice skating. So if you fall through, you're only falling into the 3 feet of water. But just the Ottawa River itself, there's some really good ice fishing.
You have some interesting jobs, and your work takes you all over the globe, from small fishing villages, rural towns, to large metropolises. Are you able to fish in all these far-flung destinations that you visit?
I do. I try, but if I can't fish, I always try to visit some of the local sort of aquariums, seafarer kind of museums and things like that, and talk to people about the commercial fishing. Because, when I was going through university, there wasn't a lot of jobs a blind person could do. And at that point, I was pretty much functionally blind. I could still see shadows and stuff at that point. I couldn't really do much. I couldn't work in factories anymore. I couldn't work in landscaping, construction, anything like that anymore. But I could catch fish by hand. And I used to cod fish. I bought a little cabin out in the Cape Breton, and I convinced these guys to take me cod fishing, hand lining. And I put myself through university hand lining for cod every summer. And that was fun. I enjoyed that a lot, and you're fishing 200-300 feet down, and just with some black Dacron line and a jig and some hooks, and you're hauling up cod, right? Yep. And it's all about feeling the bite. So I really got an interest in commercial fishing and what it was all about, because that commercial fishery ended around the same time I graduated in '93, closed that whole fishery down. And I lived in Sweden for a year, and I learned how they fished on the Beaufort Sea and the Baltic and the North Sea, and I went out shrimp trawling with them. And so, I've tried to fish commercially or recreationally everywhere I go. Most often, you get more opportunity to fish commercially than recreationally in a lot of places, believe it or not. It's interesting, how much people still depend on this wild resource for food.
It's a resource that needs protecting for sure. How we best accomplish that is still up for discussion. We'll be back with more from Lawrence Gunther right after these messages.
Kitefish quality flies are hand-tied to perfection. Visit us at www.kitefish.com for our complete line of products, including flies, beads, and promotional offers at fantastic prices. Use the code RADIO1 to get free shipping and no tax on your next order. That's www.kypefish.com.
Looking for a secure, rugged, and portable solution for your outdoor storage or transportation needs? StoreStack has your solution.
StoreStack!
You dream it, they build it. StoreStack is custom shipping container modification and portable building fabrication. Think StoreStack for all your fishing, hunting, and outdoor storage and transportation needs. Visit us at storestack.com. That's STORSTAC.com.
StoreStack!
Interactive, educational, and inspirational is what Fishing Frenzy is all about. We have developed a school program based off the outdoor curriculum to cater to the learning abilities of all elementary school grades. Our school program is about teaching the next generation about ethical fishing and protecting our environment in a positive way. Visit www.fishingfrenzy.com. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook. That's Fishing Frenzy, friend with a ZY.
Welcome back to the Urban Angle with our guest, Lawrence Gunther. You got your master's at York University here in Toronto. And when you were here in the city, did you get to experience any of the urban angle that we have to offer?
Oh, yeah. Lake Ontario, down there in High Park and the East End. But mainly what I enjoyed doing, it was this little tackle shop out in the West End. I used to go in there all the time, and I talked to these guys, and they think, they're thinking, this blind guy. But then one of them said, hey, Lawrence, we go fishing at night for salmon. So, and they think, I'd be perfect at it because I don't need to see at night. And I got to go fishing with these guys. We'd go out at 10 o'clock at night. We'd fish under this bridge where there were street lights above us so they could see what was going on. But all the salmon are moving in the river at night, right? So they're, you're in 1.5 feet, 2 feet of water, and these big salmon are swimming in between your legs. It was fantastic. So I very much enjoyed that in the fall. Yeah, there's good fishing around Toronto for sure.
Oh, definitely.
In Toronto, around Toronto.
Definitely. We do a lot of fishing here in the city.
Absolutely.
Family and fishing seem to go hand in hand. You're a father. Do you have the opportunity to fish with your children?
Yeah, I do. I taught them all how to fish. They all know how to fish.
So do any of your children carry the same passion for fishing in the environment that you so obviously possess?
They definitely care about the environment. I mean, the generation that's coming up behind us, David, to them, we're all connected, right? They see the world much differently than we do. My father thought you could just catch and eat whatever you wanted and it would never run out. And that was what they taught us. And then we grow up and we find out, well, that's not the case, because we start to see all these things collapsing, all these fish stocks collapsing around us all over the place. And so now our kids are growing up thinking, we screwed things up, right? We messed it up. We took too much. And they're much more connected in terms of the balance, and they're opening my eyes to a wholly new way of seeing our environment, and that is living with it.
There seems to be a theme in a lot of the work that you do, Lawrence, enthusiastically teaching people the skills needed to enjoy and respect their environment. Where does that passion for teaching stem from? It's not. I could be a teacher, and people say I should be a professor and teach at college and so on, but I think it started back in 2006. I had this little porta boat that I put together. It was my first little fishing boat that I could actually operate as someone who's totally blind. Like, I have no sight now at all. So I had enough technology that I cobbled together from different companies and buddies made and so on, that I could put this little plastic boat together that folds up, and it's like 70 pounds with an electric motor from Minn Kota, and, talking GPS, talking compass, talking depth sounder, beeper on the front to let me know if there's anything in the way, on and on and on. And I could go out and more importantly, get back, right? And go fishing on my own, like I used to when I could see. So I started blogging about that, BLINDFISHINGBOAT.com. And I quickly established a sort of international reputation as being an authority on water navigation in the blind. And, I had to, though, step back a little bit, because I didn't want to promote the idea of blind people driving boats, right? And every so often I'd get an email from some crackpot saying, I just bought a 32-foot cruiser with twin engine, blah, blah, blah. What sort of radar should I put on there because I'm blind? I said, come on. You should not drive the boat, idiot. And, I started thinking, man, I got to put waivers or something or disclaimers on my website, because I'm just going to get myself in trouble now. My little plastic boat, it goes about as fast as you walk, right? I bump into something, it's just, it's like I'm bumping into someone on the sidewalk. So, excuse me, sir. And it gets you where you need to be.
Yeah, exactly. So, I still do that. But now what I do mostly is I work with the CNIB. I'm the director of their advisory board for the Lake Joseph Center, which is a camp for 96 people up on Lake Joseph and the Muskokas. We've got a fishing boat up there, and I organize the fishing program, and everyone that goes up there gets a chance to go fishing for panfish, smallmouth, lake trout, and so that's cool. And then we do some other stuff around disability fishing. I was in Utah, in Park City, Utah, a couple months ago. We're leading a fishing clinic down there for 1,000 people that were taking part in this No Barrier Summit from all across the world. But, and then people ask me, said, Lawrence, you got this unique approach to fishing. You should write about it. So some of these editors of these different magazines asked me to write articles. So I started the Feel the Bite thing, right? Because that's my thing. I feel the bite. So now I write articles, and that sort of evolved into doing TV stuff now, where I specialize in the whole Feel the Bite thing. And I fish tournaments. Because people think, well, Lawrence is blind, he must fish all these tournaments against blind people. Well, in fact, there really isn't a lot of opportunities for blind people to fish tournaments. And most blind people that fish, they don't want to fish against blind people anyways. They want to fish with sighted people against sighted people. Because really, fishing is mostly a non-visual activity when it comes to feeling the bite anyways. Unless you're, fly fishing dry flies. It's very difficult to make a living at tournament fishing. But I normally finish in the middle of the pack or a little bit better, and sometimes I do well, or sometimes I win. I am a little bit competitive, but I'm not that stupid that I think I'm going to beat the best of the best all the time, because the best of the best, they know how to feel for the bite as much as I do, and they can also see where they're casting, so they've got an advantage over me anyway. So I can beat a lot of the people, but I can't beat the best.
So you also are the host of Bluefish Radio.
Yeah.
And so what does Bluefish Radio mean to you and your audience?
Blue is about the water, fish, it's about the fish, it's about the future of fish and fishing. I got my master's in environmental studies, and I really have an interest in in the future of our fish resource, because I think it's totally misunderstood. I mean, we believe in what we see, and we think that we can chuck stuff into the water, out of sight, out of mind, right? You know, what I'm trying to do with Bluefish Radio, by talking to people all around the world who are doing amazing things to make sure our fisheries are going to be around in the future, I'm also trying to teach people that, you know, through local knowledge, through technology, through experience, through your other senses, you can really develop an understanding of something you can never see. And we have to suspend our need to see it to believe it. You don't have to see something to believe what is there. I mean, I think about the Great Lakes and all the 180 plus invasive species that have gone into the Great Lakes in the last 50 years, right? And how it's, you know, radically changed the aquatic ecosystems of the Great Lakes so much. If those types of changes occurred on land, we would be freaked out. Mm-hmm. We would just be freaked out. Like if all our polar bears and deers and black bears and just disappeared, and we were all of a sudden inundated with lynx and lions and zebras, you know, we would go like, what? You know, and if the porcupines were all of a sudden replaced with monkeys, we go, what? Yeah. We'd never tolerate it. But those types of changes are happening underwater, and we just go, oh, okay.
It's because we can't see them.
We don't see it. So we just think, well, okay, whatever. But it's these crazy, crazy things that are happening underwater, and it doesn't register with us. So I'm trying through Bluefish Radio to get people to get a better understanding, because still 1 billion people in this world depend on fish for their protein source. And it's still the biggest food source that's grown wild in the world that we harvest, right? Mm-hmm. We need to appreciate it a little bit more, understand it a little bit better.
We'll be right back with more Urban Angle.
Castle Rock Outdoor Marketing. We're here to help put your business on the map. At Castle Rock, we specialize in marketing for outdoor companies. No company is too big or too small for Castle Rock Outdoors Marketing. Contact us at castlerockoutdoors@gmail.com. Find Castle Rock Outdoors on Facebook and on Twitter at Castle Rock Media. Castle Rock Outdoor Marketing.
Looking for a secure, rugged, and portable solution for your outdoor storage or transportation needs? StoreStack has your solution.
StoreStack!
You dream it, they build it. StoreStack is custom shipping container modification and portable building fabrication. Think StoreStack for all your fishing, hunting, and outdoor storage and transportation needs. Visit us at storestack.com. That's STORSTAC.com.
StoreStack! Bluefish Stewardship Tips.
And now here's Lawrence Gunther with another Bluefish Stewardship Tip.
I'm Lawrence Gunther, and this is another Bluefish Canada Stewardship Tip. You know, we all have gas augers, gas outboards, gas lawnmowers, and 2 strokes, 4 strokes, whatever it is. It's important that when we're refilling those small engines, we're doing it in locations where the spill isn't going to impact the water. Do it over land, keep some absorbent material handy, and if you have to do it over water, make sure you bring some towels along and some of those absorbent pads. They work really great for cleaning up spills. The other thing is you want to label your containers properly. Don't just put it in an old mayonnaise jar and throw it in the garage somewhere in the back of the garage. You want to label what's in there so that when you bring it to the recycling depot, they'll know how to get rid of it properly. And for sure, don't dump it down the drain. You know, we have sewage treatment facilities, but they don't get out the oils and gases and chemicals. They get out the big chunky stuff, folks. Let's face it, they make it, you know, liquid, but all those chemicals are just passing straight back into our rivers and lakes, and that's not good for anything. Remember, for the latest stewardship news, listen to Bluefish Radio.
Welcome back to the Urban Angle.
Is stewardship a topic of discussion in your teachings, or is stewardship a result of these programs? Do you find you have to teach people to be stewards of our environment?
I find that people don't want to have someone like me or anyone stand up in front of them and talk about stewardship or environmentalism for half an hour, 45 minutes or whatever. They just don't want to hear about it because it's not exciting, it's not fun, it has nothing to do with their enjoyment. It's like preaching, right? It's like you're going to hell. It's not positive stuff, it's negative stuff. So you have to mix it in to the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is we have interests, we have hobbies, we have lives, we have property, we have investments, we have things we like. And if you can tie everything into that, if you can say, look, that's where you grew up, that's what you did as a kid, that's what you want your kids to do, here's what you need to do to make sure your kids can grow up and do the same thing that you did. Mm-hmm. And that resonates. Yeah.
So what's coming up next for you, Lawrence? What are you working on?
More TV stuff, for sure. That's coming along. I got a documentary that's coming out that has been 5 years in the making, and that's me talking to people across Canada, north, south, east, west, who live by the water, from the water. Mm-hmm. But I didn't talk to any environmentalists or scientists or politicians or business people or anything like that. It wasn't investigative journalism. It was just people telling their stories, right? And then I just spent a big chunk of the summer touring research aquariums. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about the aquariums like the Vancouver Aquarium, the Monterey Aquarium, the Shed Aquarium in Chicago, like aquariums that are doing amazing things around research to understand what's happening in their area and educating people about that and empowering people to do something about it. So it's amazing how many people they get involved in their activities, and they're all totally open to fishing because that's what people do in their community, right? So they just want to, like me, make sure that things are around for the future. I went and talked to all their research directors, and the Association of Zoos and Aquariums is backing me up on this, and we're going to come out with a whole series on research aquariums and what they're doing to make sure that their aquatic resources are around for the future.
I look forward to that series, Lawrence, but time is running short. So please, tell us how people can learn more about Lawrence Gunther and Bluefish Radio and the great work that you do.
Yeah, Bluefish Radio is featured on Outdoor Canada magazine. It's also AMI Audio, puts it out on XM Series every weekend, 3 times every weekend, and on cable TV across Canada. Mm-hmm. And Reno Viola Outdoors Radio, their 24-hour radio station, they broadcast, I think, 4 times a week. Yeah.
And your website is blindfishingboat.com?
Yeah, lawrencegunther.com, blindfishingboat.com, feelthebite.ca, bluefishcanada.com.
Thanks for that, Lawrence. I wanted to thank you for joining us here on The Urban Angle. Your story is truly inspirational, and I'm truly honored to have had this time to speak with you. Thank you, Lawrence.
David, good luck with the show, and I think what you're setting out to do, man, that's really important. You engaging urban people in what's happening in their right in their backyards, right?
Well, thanks for that, Lawrence. That's what we're trying to do here on The Urban Angle. And thanks once again for joining us. It's truly been my honor.
Thank you.
Now let me take this opportunity to introduce you to Canada's largest volunteer initiative, one that gets more than 55,000 participants making a difference each and every year. I'm talking about the Great Canadian Shoreline Cleanup. This yearly campaign for the environment is easy to join. I know from experience I organize 2 shoreline cleanups for the Toronto Urban Fishing Ambassadors every year, one in the spring and one in the fall, and it couldn't be easier. I pick a date and location for my cleanup, which is easy to do thanks to the great mapping system they have on the Great Canadian Shoreline Cleanup site. I invite friends, family, and fellow anglers to join me on my cleanup, and we enjoy the day. The site coordinator information package is easy to follow, and the experience is very rewarding. Look them up today by visiting www.shorelinecleanup.ca to register or join a cleanup at your favorite fishing hole.
If you like the show you're listening to right now, you can listen to it and many more just like it on Reno Viola Outdoors Radio. Fishing, hunting, boating, and the rest of the great outdoors 24/7, 365 on Reno Viola Outdoors Radio. Download the free Reno Viola Outdoors Radio app or visit WRVOradio.com online to see the lineup and schedule. That's Reno Viola Outdoors Radio, and enjoy the great outdoors.
I want to thank Lawrence Gunther for joining us this time on the Urban Angle. I look forward to hearing more from Lawrence throughout our series with his Bluefish Stewardship tips. I want to thank my editor and copywriter, Josie Dacrest. Thanks to my sound engineer, Jeff Donor. And I want to give a shout out to our sponsors, Kitefish Quality Flies, Store Stack, and Castle Rock Outdoors. Look them up online. We also want to say a big thank you to our listeners. What's your urban angle? We want to know. Drop us a line at the Urban Angle Radio Show at gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter at The Urban Angle, and join the conversation on Facebook at /The Urban Angle. Join us next time on The Urban Angle.